Hey, good to see everybody. Like we can see anybody.
Yeah.
Welcome back to a little show we like to call
Roll with the troll.
Roll with the Troll and the voice of reason here. If
Thank you.
you don't have to call her the female co-host like some people do. You can just call her the voice of reason.
That's me.
She's here. Guys, it is good to be doing another video for everybody. We have such a fun crew.
Yeah.
Check it out. We thought with Halloween Ends coming out in just a few months, it'd be a good idea to go back through all the other Halloween films. We never reviewed any of them, I don't think, right? I don't think we ever did a Halloween review.
I don't think so.
So let's dive in with H20.
Yeah.
I thought when Halloween 2018 came out, I had a very hard time focusing on that movie because of all the parallels to H20.
Yeah.
It's very similar to me, don't you think, Voice of Reason?
Here and there, I suppose.
No, you don't see it as a very...
No.
I do.
Okay. How come?
Well, to me, I mean, it's different in that H20 is taking place at largely at a school, and it's not in Haddonfield and everything, but none of that really matters to me. At the end of the day, it's a very damaged Laurie Strode. It's been decades.
True. Yeah.
She's got a kid in the mix, and she's beyond furious. You know, she's dealing with all the same shit. Like, she thinks she sees him, it's not him.
Yeah.
Thinks she sees him, it's not him. Thinks she sees him, is sure it's not him, then realizes, oh shit, it is him. And there's a lot of badassery on her part in both the 2018 film and in this one. It's really similar to me. You know, granted, she set a trap in 2018 and we didn't have that here, but there's a lot of good stuff. We'll talk about it in order. Let's talk about it chronologically. But
yeah,
my point is just when 2018 rolled around, I had such a hard time shaking this film, H20.
I think the only thing I had a hard time shaking was the whole brother-sister story. I had to keep pushing that back out of my head. But no, I thought the Laurie Strode character was actually quite different between the two. Because in the 2018, she was quite fierce, actually. She was prepared, you know, she had been practicing out in the woods, right? Shooting and throwing and things like that. And in H20, she seemed much more of a neurotic, anxious
damsel in distress.
Not so much a damsel in distress, but just very neurotic and anxious about it.
Yeah, to me, I still drew a big parallel, but yeah, I get it. I totally get that. So let's talk about this film. We were just saying in the comments, one of our audience members, Blackest Eyes, I love his ideas and his thoughts.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, what is your favorite timeline of all these various Halloween timelines now? And he said, you know, it's probably this one. It's Halloween, Halloween 2, and H20. And I don't want to misquote him, but he basically was saying it's kind of a nice, simple package where you don't have Michael being all supernatural, and you don't have too many really grandiose things to absorb. You know, I'm using my words here, but I think that's what I was getting from what he said. And that really hit home. That's to me, this is actually my least favorite timeline, to be honest with you.
Really?
Halloween 2, H2O is my least favorite timeline out of all of them, except the Rob Zombie's the least favorite.
That seems pretty universal.
Yeah, everybody. Rob Zombie said it. It's everybody agrees. It's not as good.
Okay.
But if you don't even count, I forget about those films, honestly. And they have some redeeming shit, and we'll get into those when we review them. I mean, I don't want to completely shit on them altogether. They do have some cool things, but anyway, the point is, in everything that's not Rob Zombie, this is actually my least favorite timeline. However, I do think it is. I agree very much that it's the cleanest. You don't have to work your way through a sea of bullshit like you do with the other ones. Yeah. You know, like with the Cult of Thorn one's really my favorite, but it's the bumpiest, most just fucking mistake-ridden path. It's bizarre, right? It's very hard to. It's not well delivered. This one is probably the best delivered as a trilogy. If you want to just say, if you were just to tell someone who doesn't know Halloween, and you said, hey, look, there's Halloween, Halloween 2, and H20. That's a trilogy. I think they could absorb that. The problem with it is the films progressively get worse to me. The first one's a classic. Right. Second one's not nearly as good, but still cool. H20 to me is... look, my review basically is this. I think this is a decent 90s horror film. And I think it's got its merit, and I enjoy it. I've probably seen it in my life 30, 40 times at least. Probably more. Wow. Yeah, at least. So, you know, it's a good movie. It's not like I don't like it, but there's a lot of things that really take the vibe radically different from the first two films,
Mm-hmm.
especially from the first film. If you notice the beginning of well, first of all, how about the name H2O? Fuck that.
Yeah.
You know,
That doesn't work for you?
no, H2O. Like, that was such a cutesy thing back then, around that time period. Everything, like, bands would do this too. Like, they'd want to abbreviate songs, and everybody wanted like a number and a letter to just replace words.
J-Lo.
Yeah, shit like that. It's just something like that's there's no numbers in there, but okay.
Yeah.
It's everybody wanted to find a way around that time period to be sort of clever and cutesy.
That's true.
In a way to start a brand. I don't like that at all. And then H2O, I'm okay. Well, that's water. What does water have to do with this film? Nothing. She doesn't even drink a glass of water in this film. She's boozing it up the whole time.
She was, yeah.
I mean, there's no. It's not clever to call it H2O. So I don't like the name right off the bat. I really don't like at that whole beginning that it doesn't feel anything relating to this vibe of Halloween. It doesn't feel creepy. They there's even a moment where what's his name? The kid is running outside for a second, and they're even playing like cutesy kind of sound effects, like like the kid who ends up getting killed, the kid who went on to be in Batman and Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, the Joseph Gordon.
Yeah. And there was all of this cutesy little humor, and it just the very beginning of the film bothers me. That first 15 minutes, I remember sitting in the theater and thinking, this doesn't feel like the beginning of a Halloween film. It feels more like Scream. In fact, they had Scream. The girls got Scream on TV at one point in this movie. Yeah. I feel like that was them just kind of saying, hey, look, we're really going down that road here. We're borrowing from Scream and all the other more 90s horror films that were trying to be more like tongue in cheek and a little bit more playful about themselves. So anyway, don't love the beginning. I liked that we had Marion Chambers, I think, back. I thought that was cool that she was back in this, but that was really it. And then the tone was like, we never got a really creepy looking scene, or at least not more than one scene. So, for example, look at the beginning of Halloween 4. You get, it feels like at least a minute of just creepy Halloween shots. You get all this, it's really showing you the setting, and you feel like you're there. And they kept that going through a lot of the film too, but in the very beginning especially. This film doesn't feel Halloween to me. You know, it doesn't even take place in Haddonfield. It doesn't take place anywhere that feels Halloween.
There was no trick-or-treating.
There's just nothing. It's so far removed, and I understand the need to want to not replicate the first film or the second film either. Yeah. But at the same time, you do have a need to, if you're trying to make this a trilogy, to have the three movies feel somewhat the same tone. To me, they don't at all. The first film feels a bit different from the second one. Second one feels radically different from H2O. So I have a tough time with this. I'll go back to the original point. I do maintain this does feel like a clean trilogy. It's the timeline is nicely laid out, and you can follow it really well, and your brain doesn't have to do any Rubik's cubing to kind of understand what's happening. You don't have to go, different director, that's okay. You don't really do so much of that. But the tone is very inconsistent from the first two films. There's a lot of comedy in this. You know, like, oh, I'm having my nipples pierced. You know, like there's so many little funny moments that never. It was funny, but I mean, it's just so many funny things here never would have fit in those first two films. Yeah. So this is a really big leap from them in terms of how it's handled. What do you think, Voice of Reason?
It was definitely a 90s film.
Yeah, right. It's glossier. It's just a different approach. I'll tell you this, another thing about it being a 90s film. This is the last Halloween movie. And a lot of people don't realize this. It was Michael's last opportunity to cut the phone line on a landline phone. Because after this,
that's brilliant.
It was the last time that they got to go, I'm going to call the police. And they go, oh shit, the phone's dead. Normally, that was his move. Like, he loves that. Wow. And not just Michael, Frank, all of them. Sure. Every serial killer. I got to tell you, if I were a serial killer, right when the cell phone really became like a major device in homes everywhere, I'd have been so livid, because you've only got like 2 or 3 major moves. The landline cutting is one of them. Right. So now you're like, fuck, now what am I going to do? That's bread and butter. Yeah, there's no way, right? You're going to take down a cell phone tower? Good luck. That's the new thing. Michael has to like devote half his evening to taking out a cell phone tower first, just so nobody can get a signal and call for help. That would be funny as hell. Yeah, but I feel like this was really the last movie in the Halloween series that got that. Yeah. Even by Resurrection came out just 3 years later, I think. And in that one, I don't think that happens. The cell phones are very prominent. One could say the advent of the cell phone ruined a big part of Michael Myers' career. In a way.
Yes.
Hey, here's what's your favorite scene from the movie? Do you remember any particular scene that you really liked a lot?
I got a kick out of LL Cool J, whatever his character's name was, writing the romance.
Oh, come on. See, that's
the sexy romance novels. That was fun.
See, that's the stuff that I don't like in the film.
I love
Because again, I always ask myself, just like I do with Cobra Kai, I'm like, does this really fit in the Karate Kid trilogy?
Uh-huh.
I do the same thing here where I feel like that would never be in the first film. Therefore, the tonal change is too much for me.
You never see his woman. She's always on the phone and you can hear her, but I thought it was funny.
Well, in a deleted scene, she's actually fucking the paperboy.
Oh my God.
So that's the real intriguing thing. Now, I'll tell you a scene that I thought was really good.
Yeah.
It's my favorite scene in the film for sure.
Okay.
Is when we think that Laurie Strode and her son and his girlfriend are getting away from Michael at the school.
Yeah.
And then she drives the car to the entrance.
To the gate, yeah.
Yeah, and she opens the gate and then she gives it to her son and she says, drive.
Uh-huh.
And John's like, what do you mean drive? What are you doing, Mom? And she's just like, just go. And then not only does she get them to drive off, but then she shuts down she throws a rock and she breaks the sensor so it's not going to reopen.
Yeah.
So she effectively traps her and Michael in there to me, if you want to talk about badass Laurie, with all the badass moments they ended up giving her in the 2018 film, to me, none compared to that. That was the most badass thing I've seen her do.
Yep.
Really. And in 2018, like you said, she prepped. She was like, she had all kinds of things going on.
She had booby traps.
Yeah, she had done a lot. She had been spending decades just waiting to kill this guy. That impromptu moment right there, I thought was absolutely the best scene of the film. Mm-hmm. And I think it was really the best scene out of a lot of film, even though I don't think this is the greatest Halloween film by far. It's one of my least favorites. That particular scene is really good. Yeah. Remember, she grabbed the axe. Yep. And she took the axe and went after him. Oh, that was fucking great. This woman had it. Yep. She was like, that is the end of this. And that axe would stay with her until the end of the film. Yeah. So I thought that was good. Yep.
Anxiety gone. She was marching around like she meant business.
Yeah. You know what was the scariest part of the film, though, to me? Is when Michael clearly enjoyed that YouTube video and didn't even bother giving it a like. That sent chills down my spine. You know, I'm like, fuck, he is clearly enjoying this. And he's still not clicking like. So, guys, if you could, please hit subscribe, like do all that shit to support the channel because we have a good time doing this and we want to do it for a long time. Yeah. But we can't unless we get some clicks and shit. That's, clicks in the world of YouTube are like cigarettes in a jail cell. Do you realize that? Oh. It's true. It's like you need them to get by. Oh, Lord. The clicks are very valuable in YouTube. They're like $1 bill to a stripper. You know what I'm saying? I don't. It's very important. You haven't spent enough time in strip clubs. So what do you think? What's your ultimate review? Do you like this movie? Do you think it sucks? What's the deal?
No, I liked it just fine. I liked it.
Would you call it a powerful ending to a trilogy?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, if this was the ending to the trilogy, the way that it ended, I think that would have been a great way to wrap it up.
See, you're thinking about like Resurrection as the next film still, right? Yeah. Yeah, totally valid. I think just for a lot of us, we really think of H20 as the ending and Resurrection as just kind of like an alternate. It's like it's another. It follows this in continuity. Yeah. But generally, you want to sort of wipe out Resurrection in continuity. That's how a lot of us feel, I think. Although we'll review that one shortly too. But yeah, to me, guys, I got to say, I don't think H20 is overall a great film. I've watched it a lot. It's something to have on, but it does not have the same kind of pulse that the other films have. It to me, it doesn't compare at all to the first Halloween. It does not compare at all to Halloween 4, which I know most people think this movie's better. I don't at all. I think Halloween 4 is way better. I just think this movie, it doesn't have much of a death count either. I think only like 6 people die in this film. It's really not a lot. Michael looks weird. I don't like this version of Michael. I really just don't think he looks all that scary. They really dumbed the movie down and they got away from the creep factor that was making the whole thing so good, this franchise so good. And I think they got a little too much into typical 90s horror. So anyway, guys, that's my thoughts. Let us know in the comments what you think. Let's talk. We'll be back soon to review more Halloween films. As always, thank you
Yes, we
guys for
will.
supporting the channel.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.